Hello first graders! Welcome to your second video here. We are ready to go with our writing paper. Make sure that you have your lines drawn on here or you have dotted lines in the middle. You're sitting up nice and straight. Your chair's pulled all the way in. Your stomach is touching your desk and your back is touching your chair. I always put my hand on my paper so that my paper doesn't move around. Our first sound that we're going to practice is our new one. It's our qua. Do you remember what says qua? It's our Q-U. And this is a clock letter. So I'm just going to go straight to my paper on this one. It starts just like the O does, starting at 2 o'clock, up around the clock, back up to 2 o'clock. It looks like an O. And don't pick up your pencil. Then you pull straight down to that next line. And then from there, we do a straight tail. There should be a point here. If you touched it, you go, ow, that pricked me. We want to make sure that it's not round. And then the rule is you never see a Q without a U. So right next to this one, we're going to do a U. We start at this middle point, pull down, go around the bottom of the clock, back up to that midpoint, or that dotted line, and then pull straight down just like we do on an A, and there's a tiny tent there. I want to do a finger space because I want those to be close, and then a space in between. So start at 2 o'clock, around the clock, up to 2 o'clock, pull straight down, pull straight diagonally up. There should be a point there, and then my U goes around the bottom of the clock with a tiny tent. Trying that again. 2 o'clock, around the clock, back up to 2 o'clock, pull straight down and diagonally up with a point. My U goes underneath the clock with a tiny tent. And I am pretty much out of room. I think I can do one more maybe. And this says qua, qua, qua. Nice job. If you are finished with all of your QUs, go ahead and follow along with me. If you are not finished, go ahead and pause so you can finish your QUs all the way across. We are going to go to the next line, and the next sound is S, Z, S, Z. So, starting at 2 o'clock, up and over the top of the clock, diagonally around and around the bottom of the clock, making sure that you look like you can fit a clock inside. S, z. And it's kind of a lot of letter to fit in that tiny space, but you just have to kind of squeeze it in. S, z, s, z, s, z, s, z. You should be, my pen went out there, saying the sound as you write it all the way across. If you are not done with your S's, push pause now and finish those. The next sound we have is ah, oh, oo. Say it with me. Ah, oh, oo. Let's write it together. So we are going to our next line, and we are starting at 2 o'clock, going around the clock, up to 2 o'clock, and stopping. Ah, oh, oo. This is literally a clock all the way around. Ah, oh, oo. Ah, oh, oo. Making sure I don't have any of my O's hanging down. I don't have any of my O's going above that dotted line. Ah, oh, oo. Ah, oh, oo. Nice job. If your O's are not finished, pause the video now and finish your O's. The next letter we have is G, J. Say it with me. G, J. Okay, we're going to write it. This starts like a clock letter like the rest of them, starting at 2, around the clock to 2. Pull straight down, and then you need to go around the bottom of the clock. Ooh, that tail's a little long. That got a little crazy there. Making sure it's sitting on that next line. 2 o'clock, around to 2, pull down and around the bottom of the clock. You should be stopping at about 8 o'clock. This one went way too far. I should cross that one out. That tail's way too long. 2 o'clock, around the clock to 2, pull straight down and around the bottom of the clock. 2 o'clock, around the clock to 2, straight down and around the bottom of the clock. 2 o'clock, around the clock to 2, straight down, around the bottom. G, J. Okay, if your G's are all the way down across the whole entire page, then you can follow along with me. If you're not done with your G's, pause the video now. The next sound that we're doing is f. Say it with me. F. This is a tall letter. So we're starting at 2 o'clock. Up to the top line, pull straight down. This is one where you get to pick up your pencil and a tiny crossbar. F. Make sure that the top of your F is nice and fat. A big clock letter. F. 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 If your F's are all done like mine, you can follow along with me. If they're not done, go ahead and pause the video. Alrighty, the next sound is D. Say it with me. D. Let's go ahead and write it. We start at 2 o'clock, around the clock, up to the top line, and make sure you have to trace it right back down. D with a tiny tent. D. 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 And I think I can fit one more. D. Tiny tent. Notice that they're not too tall. They're not hanging down. D. If you are not done with your D's, go ahead and pause the video. If you are done, we are going to move on. I'm going to move my camera up a little bit here. Sorry, earthquake. Okay, the next sound is K. S. K. S. Say it with me. K. S. Let's go ahead and write it. Starting at 2 o'clock, around the clock, stopping at 4. 2 o'clock, around the clock, stopping at 4. Notice how I have space in between my letters. Make sure that you have space in between your letters. We don't want all of our C's or any of our letters on top of each other. K. S. K. S. Double check that they're not hanging down. If you are not done with your C's, push pause now. And if you are, then you can follow along with me. The next sound and the last sound that we're doing today is A, Ah. Say it with me. A, Ah. Let's go ahead and write it. Starting at 2 o'clock, around the clock, back up to 2 and pulling straight down. You should have a tiny tent there. 2 o'clock, around the clock, back up to 2, straight down. 2 o'clock, around the clock, back up to 2, straight down. A, Ah. A, Ah. A, Ah. A, Ah. I think I can fit one more. A, Ah. Nice job. If you are not done with your A's, go ahead and push pause. If you are done with your A's, then you can follow along with me. I'm trying to move the camera up just a little bit. Okay, I have one more line on this paper that we are going to use to write some words. We're going to put these sounds together. So please get your fist ready, and we are going to say the sounds as we go through. Okay. Let's do the word dog. I love dogs. Are you ready? Dog. D. A. G. Dog. Let's do it again. D. A. G. So use D, use A, O, U, and use G, J. Let's write it. D. That's a D. A. And G. Did you write dog just like me? D-O-G. All right. If you did, you can give yourself a star or a smiley face. I'm going to do another sound, and I'm not going to show you how to write it. You're going to write it on your own. So get your fist up. Let's do this sound. Let's do cat. Ready? K, A, T. Let's say that again. K, at. So use k, s. Use a, and use t. And we haven't done that one yet, but I'm sure you know what it is. Cat. Go ahead and write the word cat. Did you write C-A-T? And the T is kind of like the F. It has a tiny crossbar right on that line. So today we did dog and we did cat. Nice job, friends. If you wrote C-A-T, you can give yourself a star or a smiley face. If not, go ahead and write C-A-T, cat, now. All right, that's it for phonics today, friends. Thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget to watch the video about you never see a Q without a U. See you next time.